Hello and welcome back to the Bird's Eye View podcast. We are here on Monday, May 26th. I'm your host, Zach Worden, joined as always by Jori Negin-Shecter. And Jori, we have not gotten into a conversation about the Major League Toronto Blue Jays in a couple weeks yet. And it's felt like maybe we've missed like a season or two in the way that the team has played it over that time span.
It has been a weird couple of weeks for the Toronto Blue Jays, specifically if you want to narrow into the last two series. Of course, they absolutely pants the San Diego Padres, including a record-breaking 14-0 win, was it? Only to give back all of that against the Tampa Bay Rays in their first trip to Steinbrenner Field as a major league facility where the Jays find themselves getting pantsed by the ghost of Trop's past. The Jays just cannot seem to solve the Tampa boogeyman as the Rays just pump them to the tune of a sweep.
It's funny, we were joking in the group chat during the Padres game. We're like, oh man, they fixed their Pythag in the 14-0 win, and then they just go and give them all back yesterday with that 13-0 loss. And man, it's crazy just the way that they play on the road against the Rays. It kind of seemed like maybe the last couple of years they'd figured it out a little bit as the Rays had, kind of come back down from their consistent excellence. But as the two teams are kind of in the same spot this year, the Rays are now, what is it, 5-1 against the Blue Jays, and this series was just uncompetitive. I think, obviously, the first two losses both being 3-1. You give up the runs early, and it just kind of felt like it was over. They didn't have any kind of pushback in those games, and it was just it's crazy the way that the offense went from putting up 14 runs, from putting up 7 runs to putting up 2 runs over 3 games. It was really quite shocking.
Just a hard series to watch and just feeling like the Jays take a step forward and two steps back. The Rays now jump the Jays in the AL East standings. The Jays settling in a couple games below 500 now, and the race for over 500 continues.
It's
Last
been a
year we
battle.
released, it's been a hell of a battle. We released that episode last year, riding the Blue Jays roller coaster. And wouldn't you know it, the Blue Jays are right where we left them.
Can we reuse
It's
that headline?
I feel like you're basically asking for it. Listen, the offense is stagnated. Obviously, scoring 2 runs in 3 games will do that. And then, of course, the pitching, and you've got, Bassett struggles yesterday. And otherwise, the starting pitching was okay, but, you've got a guy like Hoffman who's now bumbling and fumbling, and that's been a theme throughout the past month. Just Jimmy Garcia hits the injured list. That's an enormous loss to the pitching staff. Like it's all kind of going wrong, and then stuff kind of goes right, and then stuff goes wrong. It's kind of like there hasn't been any considerable progression over any extended period. It looked that way. It looked like it was heading that direction when the Jays beat up on the Padres. By the way, thank you, Manny Machado.
Yeah.
But it's a distant memory at this point because they've struggled so immensely over the past 3 games.
When do you think the last time was Manny Machado made 3 errors in a game?
I can't imagine has it ever happened before. This is something I
Yeah.
could easily look up, but just it's Manny Machado. This is a guy that's this is not Elvis Andrews. This is an elite defensive infielder there.
Yeah, it was crazy that inning. Like just it, yeah, the fixing tweets I thought were a little funny. Like yeah, obviously the whole scenario around that is just generally not funny, but I did think in that scenario they were kind of funny. I want to get into the roster stuff because I think some of that is pretty interesting. But before we do, I want to see um if you have any semblance of what the Blue Jays all-time record is against the Rays as the visitors.
You know
It,
what?
it,
They showed this on the broadcast, so I have an inclination, but I don't remember the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure on the road against the Rays, there's something like a 400 team or something like that. I think series wise, they were like 70, 105 or something on the road. It was something to that effect. But this is a team that historically has gone to the Trop and lost at the Trop. So I would imagine that it's a well below 500 mark, and if it's even close to 500. Now, mind you, don't forget the Rays between 1998 and 2007 were a pathetic excuse for a major league franchise. They were a real White Sox, a real athletics level organization. But I would imagine in the what 15, 20-ish years since, are they are they even 500 in the ground they've
No.
lost since they became the Rays?
All time, the Blue Jays are 92 and 147 on the road against Tampa Bay.
That's so deeply unshocking.
That is a 62 win pace over 162 games.
That's crazy. They're not even, are they even a 400? I don't think that's even
It's
quite a
38.
400. That's
38.
brutal. The House of Horrors.
I know
Goodness gracious.
it just transferred. And the heat yesterday was crazy. I mean, you kind of just watching, you're like, "Oh my God, like how do people do that?"
Like John Schneider normally does his post game in a sweater, and I think he was wearing like a short sleeve dry fit.
Yeah,
It was a scorcher by the looks of it.
it was funny just like the way that they were talking. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're like putting jerseys in the freezer and stuff like that to just
That's
to try
like
and
it
stay
was, but
warm."
that's why I mean you got a team playing outdoors in Florida.
Yeah.
It's not an accident. The whole schedule for them is on the road after the second half.
Yeah, it'll be it's tough, I guess, with the time that the Blue Jays kind of got there. Well, I mean, it's not like the Rays have really been playing that well, It's just they play the Blue Jays really well. I don't know kind of what there is to make of that.
It's just kind of the same as it ever was, it feels
Yeah.
like.
Okay, let's get on to some of this roster stuff because I guess some concerning developments over the week here with Jimmy Garcia going on the IL with shoulder impingement, Tyler Heineman hitting the IL with a concussion. Um, they replace them. Paxton Schultz gets his spot on the roster, and Ali Sanchez gets the call for Heineman. We can kind of zone in on Garcia because I think that's the more important of the two. Obviously, Heineman has been excellent this year, but at the same time, Kirk has been playing a lot recently and has been playing pretty well. So, how concerned are you about this bullpen without Jimmy Garcia?
I mean, I'd be lying if the concern level wasn't pretty high. It's a bullpen that at times has looked really good, and Jimmy Garcia has been a huge factor in that success. So to lose him for what realistically could be upwards of a month or maybe a month and a half is concerning. I mean, anything with the shoulder is an issue, right? And last year it was more of an elbow thing. So, you hope that this isn't necessarily connected or related in any way to a previous injury. But it's a big loss, obviously, for the back end of the Jays bullpen. Now, of course, you've got Hoffman still healthy. I mean, his results, like we kind of mentioned, have been mixed at best of late, but you still have some other options back there. You look at a guy like a Brendan Little that's been really good. Mason Fluharty's been excellent. Yariel Rodriguez has really evolved over the last little bit. So you have some options back there still, but this is your eighth inning guy, and to lose him is certainly not a positive development.
All right, it's time for the circle of trust moment.
Yes. Yes,
Building
here, if you'll allow me, it's the circle of trust.
Yes. Currently, I mean it's an interesting conversation. Obviously the Hoffman stuff has been concerning. I think you still leave him in there just because it's Jeff Hoffman, right? And you've kind of seen the dominance and still some of the peripherals look good. I think just the home run is has really bit him. And it's kind of funny because when he comes out, you can almost like tell when he's got it and when he doesn't, right? It's like the first guy, if he like has the leadoff walk, then you're gonna be a little bit concerned. I think I'm okay with leaving him in the circle of trust from now. Obviously, he didn't pitch against the Rays, and hopefully he'll get a chance to pitch in this series against the Rangers, even though they're rolling out, Jacob deGrom, Nate Eovaldi, and Tyler Mahle, who all have like sub three ERAs this year. So going to be an interesting week, but I think alongside him, Brendan Little, he's been great, no complaints there. Mason Fluharty, he had like the blow up outing yesterday. He doesn't record an out. His ERA goes from like 2 to 3.86. I'm still leaving him in. I saw it was like yeah, the average exit velocity on the balls that he gave up yesterday was like 77. So a little bit of dinking and doinking for Mason Fluharty, which is going to happen to relievers realistically. So I'm good with leaving him there. Um, Yariel Rodriguez, I'm putting him in.
I think he's earned it. I think he's earned it at this point.
So here are his numbers in May. He has a 35.7 strikeout rate, a 4.8% walk rate, which is good for a 31.0% K minus BB. His hitters are hitting .125 against him in May, and that he has a sub one ERA in the month, and he's only given up one run in 12.2 innings.
Well, I think the walks that you point out there, that's
Yeah,
the real development here because this guy was spraying and praying for much of April.
yeah,
And even as a starter, there was a lot of that issue, right? That's part of the reason why he struggled to go deep in games is that he had a lot of issues with his command. So for him to have changed up his arsenal, it seems like he's dropped the curveball is kind of what the scouting report says and the savant and so forth. And he's really decided to lean on the fastball slider combo like most relievers these
yeah,
days. It's allowed him to be effective. Like he's got good stuff. Like he can dial it up there to high 90s. He's a good pitcher. There's a reason he got a payday.
yeah.
For him to now be able to rein in the walks, for him to be able to throw strikes, I think that for sure has made him a guy that you're comfortable going to, not just in big spots, but like leverage spots. This
Yeah.
is a leverage reliever. The Jays might be their eighth inning guy moving forward.
Yeah, I think you feel comfortable with him. Like he looks um way more comfortable than I think we've seen him in a Blue Jays jersey over this past little while. Obviously, the results kind of reflect that, but I think, this is a guy who has pitched in leverage as a reliever before, and it just seems to be like just a little bit more of a natural fit for him than starting and doing this multi-inning thing and like pitching when it's blown out. It seems like he kind of lives for the moment. So yeah, totally fine with him kind of sliding into that Jimmy role. Obviously Chad Green might kind of get the first crack at it, but I didn't bring him up in the circle of trust because I'm not quite sure he's there. Obviously, he's been, it's just weird watching Chad Green because he like the ERA is good. It's a 3.22, but like the guy's given up nearly 3 home runs per nine. So
But this
um
is just the Chad Green experience, right? Like as a Blue Jay,
yeah.
is there a guy that has been as is there a guy on the Blue Jays you are more whelmed by? Not overwhelmed, not underwhelmed, simply
Yeah,
whelmed.
like you're like, yeah, the numbers are good. The viewing experience is meh. Like it's, I could leave it or take it. He's a great up three, down three guy
Yeah, like I
because
haven't
he's not going to get like completely blown up in an outing, and he's not going to, totally make you feel he's not going to tuck you into bed at night when
no.
he's out there.
No, this is a guy that's best days are behind him, which I don't think is necessarily an outlandish take, but you need 7, 8, 9 guys
Yeah.
back there, and he's definitely one of them.
All right. Interesting because you know what, we've actually worked through a lot of the guys back there, and we already have four Circle of Trust guys, and I don't think I'm going to include Paxton Schultz or Jose Urania in that group. But Braden Fisher has been really interesting. He has not given up a run yet as a major leaguer over six appearances, 7 innings, and he has not walked anybody, and he has 10 strikeouts.
And the numbers all sound good. I feel like they haven't really put him in a spot where he's needed to be
No. That's the
the
thing,
guy.
right? Like
He's
I would
he's
like to
he's
see it
come
though.
in. Does he have that save yet? He finished at least one game.
He does
Uh,
not have a save. He got
no,
that win.
was it a win? He picked up
Yeah,
his first win.
against the
Uh,
Padres.
so like he's come in and he's thrown, but like I wouldn't put him in circle of trust territory just yet. It doesn't make any sense to me to do that for a guy through 7 career innings. But no, good early returns on
Yeah.
him.
The stuff has looked good. The
And
stuff is like obviously, you watch at AAA and you're kind of like, well, it is AAA. There's a little bit of a difference, but I mean, the stuff has looked good. The fastball has been really good. The slider, I think it's slider cutter, whatever you want to refer to it as, but it's got like a 120 stuff plus. He's got a 110 stuff plus overall. Like his pitching plus is 117, which is one of the best in this Blue Jays bullpen. So I think it's a guy who's like really impressed me in his major league time, and you know what? I think he's probably ready to get a shot at a little bit of leverage. And I think if you look at like the role that Chad Green pitches in sometimes, like maybe that could be a role that Braden Fisher gets a shot at.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is a guy that I'm necessarily ready to hand the reins off to per se. I
Let
think
him
it's
close
just
games right now.
Jeff who? Jeff who? It's Braden Fisher's bullpen, damn it. Yeah, like listen, I don't think I have too many Braden Fisher thoughts. Um, a pleasant surprise. One of the few pleasant surprises that the Blue Jays have had, I think, on the pitching side, because on the hitting side, there's maybe been a few of them. Um, the pitching side, it's really maybe him and I don't know.
Fluharty is kind of those have been the two best developments, I guess. The starting pitching, man, it's been, I guess kind of what you've expected. Obviously, we've kind of seen like the Bassett ERA climb up since he had like the Cy Young start to the year. Berrios has been okay. Like his starts have been up and down. Um, the fifth starter spot, obviously still an issue. I think Lauer has been like all right. Like I haven't been super concerned, but there's just no length there whatsoever. Um, do you kind of have any wishes for that spot, or you think you're fine kind of riding out Eric Lauer? And the Francis combined with Lauer, like having those two spots back to back is a concern because Francis hasn't really been working all that deep into games because he's kind of been getting lit up so far this year. Um, and then, so obviously, when he goes short in games, then that taxes your bullpen leading into what is essentially a bullpen day, because they're not letting Eric Lauer turn the lineup over three times.
Yeah, it does sound like Scherzer is getting closer. Uh, Word was he was going to join the team in Texas, where the Jays are
Yeah,
currently. So I think at this point, it's really just white knuckle, hold on, and just survive for the next 2 weeks, and then I guess you kind of hope that by mid-June, Max Scherzer fills in there. Now, how long he will last, if he will be able to stay healthy, if he will be able to pitch well, is maybe an entirely different question. But the hope there, you would figure, is that you're able to make Francis work, you're able to make Lauer work, who, by the way, Lauer to me has done everything you could ask for and more.
yeah,
Uh, Not a guy that's lighting up the radar gun, not a guy that's pitching particularly amazing, but as far as serviceable fives go, he's enough to get you by. I think it is really just hold on for dear life and wait for Max Scherzer to get back. Now the rest of the rotation, excuse me, um, is gonna take it or leave it. But that fifth spot, you would hope that you're able to get Scherzer in, you're able to get him to have some success, and ultimately it kind of pushes some of the guys in the four spot, maybe even in the three spot, down maybe a slot or two in the rotation. This episode of the Bird's Eye View podcast is brought to you by BioSteel. Use code Bird's Eye View at checkout for 20% off your order at biosteel.ca. Again, that's code Bird's Eye View at checkout for 20% off your order. For all your high performance hydration needs, visit biosteel.ca. Thank you again to BioSteel for sponsoring today's episode.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think the Scherzer thing, obviously, at this point, it's kind of like you're like, tell us when he's going to be back, and I don't need to know about every single single bullpen at this point. Obviously, you do because you want to know when this guy's going to be back, but it's kind of been a long process. Spencer Turnbull has been thrown in the minor leagues. I think that was a guy who you kind of feel like could have been an option there, and like obviously he still can't be like he's pitching fine in single A right now, but um, just kind of working his way back, and then eventually you do kind of hope that Alek Manoah, who joined the team
Well,
in the dugout this
I mean,
weekend,
that was a guy that I was also going to mention. Sounds like he's going to maybe be back beginning of August, which, if you can believe it, that's 2 months from now.
yeah. Yeah, it's coming down quick, and I think obviously there's the Manoa stories, and obviously saying all the right things. Like it was nice to see the quotes and hear from him a little bit this weekend, and see him and Kiermaier in the dugout. Um, yeah, I mean, like I can't really say that there's kind of any expectations for him at this point because he's coming back from Tommy John. I thought Keegan Matheson like he had a good point where it's like the Hyunjin Ryu impact in 2023 where Ryu came back from Tommy John and like gave the rotation a little bit of help down the stretch is probably exactly what they're going to be hoping for from Manoa.
It's not ideal necessarily from what maybe Manoa once was, but I guess you take what you can get out of him, right? It's just kind of a little bit more rotation depth at this point
Yeah,
with him. That's kind of just the discussion, and you hope that maybe he's able to provide some productive innings in a bit of a depth role, and then you kind of go from there. The pitching I think is something that's kind of understatedly going to be of pretty substantial interest over the next, call it like 12 months.
yeah.
Uh, it's a bit of a rotation in flux. And I wonder, first of all, I wonder how fast Savage is going to get to the big leagues because he just had another incredible outing at high A. Looks like he's probably too good for that level and is potentially going to be
Shocker.
a double A before the All-Star break. Jamie Campbell tweeted something out earlier this week where he was like, I bet you we see this guy at the major league level. Probably a little too aggressive of a timeline for him,
Yeah,
but I could totally see Savage being part of this rotation
next year.
100%. And I think that kind of will help backfill because there's so much, age with this rotation. And even this year, it's kind of been an issue, right? You're
Yeah,
getting stuff out of Barrios, but he's been, just fine. And Bassett is just kind of showing his age a little bit. He's a pending free agent. He's come back to earth. Gosman continues to age. He struggles a little bit. Had a really good start his last time out, but it's been mixed results at times. It's a bit of a, you know, spray and pray for the Jays rotation, so to speak. And that's
I
not even to
mean,
mention, of course, Scherzer.
it's going to be interesting. So, like, if they get to the trade deadline and they are, I don't think that they're going to necessarily be sellers the way that they've played, right? Like, I think they're going to kind of be like in the mix enough to the point where they're not going to be like, well, we're going to trade Chris Bassett and we're going to trade Kevin Gossman, right? But in the world where, say that they are 8 games back of the last wild card spot at the trade deadline, and they go ahead and make that decision, right? Like they trade Bassett, they trade Gossman, maybe Barrios. He has the opt out after 2026. So if he kind of suggests, "Hey, I'm going to be exercising that," and they're like, "All right, well, we want to get ahead of this now," and then all of a sudden your rotation is Bowden Francis. It's I guess Max Scherzer, but he if they're out of it, I'm assuming he would want to trade as well. So.
Does
Um,
Yariel Rodriguez end up in the
Yeah,
rotation
Yariel moves
again?
back. Like you're looking at Easton Lucas, Spencer Turnbull. Andrew Bash, Lazaro Estrada, like Ricky Tiedemann, maybe if he comes back okay. Like there could be a DEF CON 5 with this rotation if they do decide to sell at the deadline, and it would be probably the worst viewing experience of the last couple years with this team if they decide to kind of move on from these guys,
Yeah,
which
you'd be looking at a lot more games in the realm of game three of the series than games one and two.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, it's too early to be discussing, where the Blue Jays go at this point. They're right in the mushy middle, which
yeah,
is basically where kind of they were expected to be.
yeah.
But
They're only 3 games out, and they're 2 games below 500.
that's the thing, right? They're still very much a competitive team when it comes to the standings. When it comes to what's actually, happening on the field, you got the negative run differential, you got the offense being so-so, although it actually, I think, in a lot of respects, has kind of come back to life a
Yeah,
little bit. I look at a guy like Alejandro Kirk as a real good sign of life for this Blue Jays offense, but just generally speaking, there's so much just kind of what's going on here
yeah. I,
to
I
to see.
it's funny because obviously, you know what, they have the great series against San Diego, and we were going to record after it, but kind of some stuff pops up and whatever, right? But it's kind of funny the times that we've recorded where I think we were ready to do a post Angels one if they had gotten swept, and ready to just kind of bury them, and then they win that last game, and then they sweep the Mariners, and you're like, oh my God, they're back, and then they come back home, instantly drop a series to the Rays, and then they drop a series to the Tigers, and you're like, that's not ideal. And then they just handle the Padres, right? Like one of the best offensive teams in
A
baseball,
good
like a
Padres
really
team.
good team, and they handle them. You're feeling great. The offense is back. Addison Barger's raking. Ernie Clement is looking like, a piece. Um, Varsho's hitting homers every game. Nathan Lucas has got he's got it going on realistically, and then all of a sudden they go to Steinbrenner Field and all of that kind of stops. Like there
Yeah.
was just
But
so
that's
many
that's
good storylines
so
heading into this
that's so
series.
Blue Jays too. We just talked about it off the top. Like, should we really have expected them to go into Tampa and be like, "All right, guys, this is it. We're turning the season around right here." We probably should have had that series circled on the
Uh
calendar.
yeah. It's a little frustrating to kind of see the back and forth. You just
For
want
sure.
like a little bit of consistency from
There,
them.
there was some other injury news I think we should get to that they talked about during this, at least the start of the Rays series. The big one I think is the Jimenez stuff that he's kind of
Yeah.
inching his way back. And there was that article from Gregor Chisholm. I don't know if you want to get into this a little bit about where he slots in. Uh, do you have any Jimenez thoughts? Because I don't know what the plan is here.
Like I don't want to be too aggressive about his situation, but is it really that much of a coincidence that at the same time as he and Anthony Santander are kind of in and out of the lineup more than they're in it, that the offense kind of found its way?
So you're what, three of your four highest paid guys, or excuse me, two of your three highest paid guys? Not great.
I
Not
think
not ideal.
The Santander thing, is too bad that he's kind of been dealing with this because it seemed like he was coming around a little bit, and then he got hurt, and it's man, like that's his at bats are either pretty good or just absolutely awful. It's but Jimenez, yeah, I mean, like the Gregor Chisholm article said, like he's going to be back every day at second base, and like maybe there's a little bit more frequency with the days that he's on the bench, given how Ernie and Addison Barger have swung it recently, and Ernie's defense at second base has been exceptional recently. I think of that barehand play that he made on Chandler Simpson, like that was just an incredible play. How about that Chandler Simpson ground ball to Bo Bichette? Like just the most routine ground ball, and he beats it out like
This guy's
that,
crazy, but it's
man.
such a Rays thing to just find this dude. That's just what the Rays do. This guy is antithetical to everything about modern baseball except for the 99th percentile sprint
Yeah.
speed. And of course, he's legging out, singles and infield hits and this, and then of course swipe second base, and it's basically a double. And guy's got the wheels to swipe third. I don't think he really stole third much on the Jays per se, but just in general, like this
He's
is
like if he just figures out how to get on base like 34% of the time, he's a
like
problem.
this is a Billy Hamilton level speed guy,
Yeah.
but there's a chance he could be an even better version of that, which is crazy.
What are your thoughts on Jimenez? Like where are you at with him?
I don't know. It's so hard to be in on him because of how bad he was after the hot start and because of how the guys that replaced him have provided equal or better value. Jimenez has been exceptional defensively. That part, has come as advertised. But the stick is so bad, so non-existent. I'm just really not sure how you possibly make him an everyday player for the Blue Jays. It just, to me, it's hard to envision a world that you're trotting out your best nine guys with him a regular part of that group. And that's not to say that he hasn't had his productive stretches as a Blue Jay. Like I said, like he's hit at times and he's been a consistently elite fielder. But woof has basically April onwards been bad.
Yeah, he's I think like he's probably bound for better results offensively, but not significantly better results, I would
Yeah.
say.
Well,
Like,
it's the lack of thump, but that's just kind of the Jays MO these days.
yeah, it's how many guys can how many glove first guys can you employ throughout your lineup?
Apparently the goal is at least nine.
I guess we can kind of before we run here, we can touch on Dalton Varsho. Really, really exceptional kind of start to come back, but also like just so weird. When you look at the stat line, right? Like tied for the team lead in home runs with seven in only 79 plate appearances, but he's also striking out 33% of the time and walking less than 4% of the time. He's got a 192 average and 99 WRC plus. Obviously the impact has been great because of the home runs, and it kind of shows you how much power can kind of cover up some of the issues. But man, what a weird kind of start for him.
This is like the final. This is the ultimate version, the Super Saiyan version of Dalton Varsho. He's striking out one in every three at bats. He's homering one in every 10 at bats. And he's playing Gold Glove defense, making incredible catches, or even when he's not making catches, going viral on Twitter anyways. You think of that play against the Tigers.
Yeah, yeah, that was crazy.
And
Hey,
that
like
was
the yeah,
ridiculous. And I mean, he's a league average bat with elite defense. This would be a 5-win Dalton Varsho. This would be a 6-win Dalton Varsho. This is a really, as insane as it is to say, this is really all you need from him. If he can
yeah.
pop 25 bombs, if he can hit 210, if he can be a 105 WRC plus guy and do so by hitting the long ball, which is something that the Jays as a group are lacking, then you're content. You're fine with this. And it's crazy to say because he's under the Mendoza line. Like this is looking like a Joey Gallo situation. But
Without the walks.
Joey Gallo wasn't the greatest center field defender in baseball. This is completely fine. Now, obviously, a lot of that success is driven by his first 40 or so plate appearances. But as long as he can continue to hit home runs, as long as he continues to, obviously, as he's going to, play elite defense, then I don't think you really have to ask that much more of him.
It is a unique profile, to say the least.
And
It's
it works. For him, if this is what he has to be the best version of himself,
yeah,
I think that's totally fine.
yeah. Don't disagree. Yeah, heading into this Ranger series, obviously they got the early game today. Yeah, DeGrom, Eovaldi, Molly, gonna be
Not
an
a,
interesting.
it's not
But
a easy.
The Rangers haven't been playing all that well.
But a lot of
They're
that is
without
that
Corey
they
Seager.
haven't hit. Like they just brought
Yeah,
up that Osuna kid related to he who will not be named of the Blue Jays formerly.
yeah.
But I mean, in terms of trying to get your offense on track, it's not who you want to see.
The Rangers are they're like such a weird team because they're just it seemed like they were built to hit and then they just haven't hit, but their pitching's been really good. Um, yeah, I don't know. I love watching Jacob deGrom pitch, so
Nice
that'll
to
be
see him
exciting today.
healthy. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure you're thrilled with that.
Yeah, he's dialed it back and he's only sitting 97 this year. So,
Only
yeah.
sitting 97.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for us here today at the Bird's Eye View podcast. Make sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons if you're watching on YouTube. You can find us there at the Bird's Eye View Pod. If you're listening along on the podcast provider of your choice, make sure to drop a follow and review. You can follow us all on Twitter. I am at Worden_Zach. Jory is at Jori Negin-Shecter. And the pod is at BEV_pod. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy the games this week.